Okay, it is time for the fourth and final episode of the dinosaurs. This episode is completely centered around the late Cretaceous. We will be seeing like the dinosaurs when they're, apparently at their peak, as it's mentioned in the episode, and of course, the extinction of the non bird dinosaurs. This was a pretty good episode, and it had some really interesting things that I'm very excited to unpack. So, first of all, we're introduced to another bird, just a full on bird. It evolved in the proper theropod group to be considered a bird, that being Hesperornis. I love Hesperornis so much. It's always such a treat to see it. Very good design, too, might I say. The feathers look great. The huge, bulky feet were also really good because they had like flipper like feet essentially, which was very beneficial when trying to swim. It is thought that Hesperornis was far better adept at swimming than it was walking on land, and that was emphasized in this episode. So that was a great start. Its reveal was also very fun, where you're kind of like expecting a giant dinosaur, but then you get, I mean, Hesperornis was big, but obviously, I think they were hinting at the fact that this was like a large multi-ton theropod. Anyway, we get to see it swim around and try to catch some fish, and then it is in turn hunted by a mosasaur. The mosasaur had a really nice design, really no criticisms there. It chases the Hesperornis down until the Hesperornis jumps onto the shore and escapes it, and it's like panting and all of that, and then the mosasaur jumps onto the land and unfortunately grabs my beautiful Hesperornis and drags it back into the water. So mosasaurs were not likely too good at like crawling around on the land. I'm sure that it's possible it could go on to like the very shallow sea or shallow waters, and then maybe it could drag itself back into the water, but I don't know how plausible overall this would be. It was still very interesting to see. Then we do see that they're simply just called hadrosaurs, but they look like Edmontosaurus. Like all around, I'm pretty sure they're simply just Edmontosaurus. They're also mentioned to be larger than an elephant, which yeah, that tracks. That sounds like Edmontosaurus to me. Only thing is that they don't have the correct forelimbs. They don't have a singular nail like how Edmontosaurus had. Instead, it's like two individual nails, and that's again, that's not accurate for Edmontosaurus. So if this is meant to be Edmontosaurus, that's kind of incorrect, which is weird because they had the correct forelimbs in Life on Our Planet. So we do see them in like a huge nesting ground, obviously mostly based off of Egg Mountain, which is a Maiasaura nesting ground that showed that Maiasaura had these huge community nesting spots. And so yeah, that makes it possible that other hadrosaurs did the exact same thing. So yeah, it's always really cool to see. The baby Edmontosaurus looked really good. Oh, and this new Edmontosaurus design, aside from the forelimbs, looks overall better than it did in Life on Our Planet. In Life on Our Planet, it was simply just a Maiasaura model with a fleshy comb placed on top of its head. This time it's a little bit tweaked. It's got its posture remains the same, but it does seem like the snout and everything is a little bit different. On top of that, we do see an Asdarca pterosaur, which is most likely Quetzalcoatlus. I don't think it was ever specified, but it looked a lot like a Quetzalcoatlus, and it was mentioned to be as like extremely large, so it's most likely Quetzalcoatlus. The colors, man, the colors, like sort of like a bluish green coloration. I really hope I can get some images so I can show you guys. Just really nice colors with some orange, and it honked. It was a honking Quetzalcoatlus. I love hearing Quetzalcoatlus honk. It feels like that's exactly what Quetzalcoatlus would do. Ever since Prehistoric Planet 2 released and they just showed them honking, it's just that's canon to me. That is canon. That's that's how I would expect it. But it shows up when the mother Edmontosaurus leaves its nest and it sees the babies as like a free meal. So it lands and it kind of like some Edmontosaurs are like kind of like being aggressive towards it because they don't want it to go near their nests. It honks back at them, but then it just singles in on this singular nest and it eats one of them. It swallows one of them. But the rest of the babies are calling for help. And then mom comes charging in and completely brutalizes this Quetzalcoatlus. This was like one of my favorite moments in the whole show, mainly because it was a hadrosaur doing it. Hadrosaurs are often portrayed as just like the pushovers in dinosaur media, just the animals that are only there to be food to the bigger, cooler theropods. I was so incredibly happy to see it do that, and it was brutal. It rammed into it, bit on its wing, kept slamming it down. It was awesome. It was really cool. I think I got way too much joy out of it, but it actually caught me off guard because when I saw the mother running in, I expected her to, shout at it a little bit, shout at it, and then it would fly away. Like, that's how it often goes in documentaries like that. I wasn't expecting it to just ram into it and just stomp all over it and bite it and all of that. Really shows that, yeah, no, this is an animal that's bigger than an elephant. It was probably pretty dangerous, especially when it's like a protective mother. So that was just great job. Great job, man. Silverback Films, you guys, that was awesome. That was probably one of my favorite moments in the whole show. So we're going back to like the beginning prologue where we see the Pachycephalosaurs. I didn't mention them too much in the first episode, but their designs are okay. They have the whole idea of Pachycephalosaurs down. I just think that they're a bit too thin. But they're shown as headbutting each other. One of them gets kind of like an injury, which that tracks. We have found quite a few Pachycephalosaurus domes or Pachycephalosaurid domes that have like chips taken out of them, which implies that yeah, they were hitting their heads together and they got some injuries from them. And one of them gets eaten by a T-Rex. But again, that was all the way in like the prologue. Uh we start to follow like a triceratops for a little bit. It's the exact same triceratops design from Life on Our Planet. They just used the same model. So it looks okay. A lot of the skull proportions look fine, like it has a longer snout than say like the Jurassic Park version, but I just think the brow horns are a bit too small. They look like the exact same size as the bony core, which is too small because the bony core would have been layered in keratin in life. So when you go to a museum and you look at a triceratops skull, and you see those horns, like yeah, they're already huge, but they would have been larger than that because of the keratin that layered on top of them. And the brown horns just seem too small, but the body proportions seem fine. I think the feet are a bit too elephant-like, but the tails are proportionally short, which is correct. So yeah, overall they're all right designs, but I think they could be better. And then we see Ankylosaurus, which just has a beautiful design. Like this is probably one of the most accurate Ankylosaurus models that we have seen in any documentary or movie or anything for that matter. I mean, obviously, Prehistoric Kingdoms is really good, but that's a game. I don't know. Yeah, no, its head shape is proper. The body proportions seem really good. The osteoderms look really good. It's being hunted by a mother T Rex who utilizes ambush predation, much like the real life T Rex most likely did. And she bites down onto its neck, which its armor kind of repelled it. Now, T Rex, its teeth combined with like its powerful bite was capable of breaking through bone, like biting through bone. Technically speaking, T Rex likely could have gotten through ankylosaur osteoderms. We don't really have any evidence for it right now, but it's certainly a possibility because those osteoderms are simply just bones. They're just bones that grow in the skin. So I feel like T Rex probably should have been able to get through that, but not every single T Rex bite would have been equal. Sometimes T Rex would have bitten like extremely hard to where it would have like broken through that, and sometimes maybe it didn't bite nearly as hard. So I'm not gonna call it an inaccuracy. It's possibly something that could have happened, in life. So it was we get like a quick little confrontation, a fight between an Ankylosaurus and a T-Rex. The Ankylosaurus swings its tail and barely misses the mother Rex and like shatters like a stump right next to her, and she leaves real quick. And this is like a moment where they're talking about the differences between some dinosaurs and like intelligence and all of that. There's some common themes that are like looped through all of this. They pointed out the intelligence in Spinosaurus, for example, and now they're pointing out the intelligence of T Rex to where like she backs down. Then the Stegosaurus is still in a defensive posture, and then she sneaks up behind it again, and then ambushes it a second time and flips it over, and then ends up killing it. So it was interesting. It was interesting that we saw T-Rex like actually fight and kill an Ankylosaurus. That's like one of the only dinosaurs in the Hell Creek Formation that we don't have any evidence of predation between the two of them. Like we found bite marks on other dinosaurs, like T-Rex bite marks on like Triceratops and Monosaurus. I'm not too sure about Pachycephalosaurus though, but those two we have found evidence for. And Kylosaurus, we haven't found any evidence. That doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Absence of evidence is not evidence of absence, but it's just interesting that that's what they portrayed on screen. And really, a fight like that could go either way, if you ask me. The fact that the T Rex used the low light conditions to her advantage certainly does help, make this a bit more plausible. The visuals, though, were just stunning. Like the lightning flashes revealing the T Rex briefly, and all of the rain looked really nice. Focusing on the T Rex a little bit more, it is just the life on our planet design. So they just reused the same model. Although they changed the front teeth were not it in a life on our planet. They were all really needle-like and just like there was too many of them. It looked really weird. They fixed that in this one. One thing I wish they did was include the lacrimal and post-orbital horns that T-Rex had in life because it's just kind of like a flat head, and that's not really true for T-Rex. The babies looked good though. They were very thin and covered in feathers, so they looked quite nice. I quite liked them. And yeah, and then that's when we get to the asteroid impact, of course, where many dinosaur documentaries finish up. It makes sense that we were going to see that in this, as this was meant to be like a story of the dinosaurs from their very humble beginnings all the way up until the very dramatic end. Now, the asteroid impact was a dramatic extinction event. There was one thing that caused severe environmental changes, and that was the asteroid impact. Now, the changes they did, like dinosaurs didn't go extinct instantaneously. A lot of them did, like a lot of them died right away, but that was still a process that happened over the course of, an extended period of time. And we don't get to see much of that, but we do get to see the asteroid impact that initially killed a lot of dinosaurs. And yeah, it was, as you would probably expect, it was depressing. You get to see the Edmontosaurus herd; they're all deceased along with the babies, which was really sad. Seeing the T Rex take its final breaths was also really sad. And then, of course, at the very end, they in the narration they mentioned that yeah, no, dinosaurs are still very much alive, and I don't know why, but I got like really emotional for this part. I don't really get too emotional for like dinosaur documentaries, but it was just something about the way that everything was edited, where they show some of these behaviors that were showcased in like some non-bird dinosaurs, and then comparing them to like modern day dinosaurs, like the bird dinosaurs, the avian dinosaurs. And there was just something about it that just I don't know, it, like, tugged at my heartstrings. I was like I felt like a tear coming on. It was like a really cool little montage because I don't know, I really like, I love birds. Birds are absolutely amazing animals, and, to give them the attention like that, I thought was just really nice, especially just to emphasize the fact that, yes, birds are absolutely dinosaurs. Dinosaurs did not go extinct. Many of them did. Many different groups went extinct. Their lineages just stopped right there. But avian dinosaurs, some groups of avian dinosaurs survived and they are still living amongst us. You can go and see a dinosaur if you want. You can go to the zoo and look at different dinosaurs. And so seeing this little ending portion that just really focused on that, it was nice. I don't know. I really liked that portion. Um, so yeah, that was the fourth and final episode of the dinosaurs. So yeah, that was it was a pretty decent last episode. Um, you know, with this documentary overall, some goods, some bads. I'm going to do a full review of the entire show that hopefully I'll get out here in a couple days or so, maybe even tomorrow from when this is posted. So keep an eye out for that. And I'm going to talk about just the whole review and see if it was like an improvement on life on our planet. And I want to see if there's way more goods than bads in this documentary. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. But that's pretty much all I have for this one. Thank you all so much for watching and have an awesome day.